All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, before I get started, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Racha HaKwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth and rule well. Peace and blessings unto the hopeful elect, pushing his word throughout the four corners of the earth in truth, righteousness, and sincerity. To you I say shalom. This is the brother Yeshaya coming at you again through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. And the title of this video will be The Cycle of Sin Will Soon End for Us. Alright? So I'm gonna say it again. The cycle of sin will soon end for us. Okay? And as you see on the screen, I have this screenshot or this image, and it says the cycle of sin in Judges. So when you look at the cycle right here, as it shows this little diagram, pretty much it goes into the steps of Israel's backsliding, and then the curses, and then Jake repenting and turning back to the Lord, right? So it shows you the whole process. So I'm gonna just read it. Number one, it says Israel falls into sin and idolatry, right? That's whenever Jake starts feeling comfortable, starts looking at the other nations. You know how they say, the grass is greener on the other side, right? So that's what Jake thought. Jake thought the grass was greener on the other side. It's all these nations, these heathen nations, worshiping their idol and doing certain customs that intrigued Jake, that it ended up, driving them to sin against their power. Not verse 2, Salakia. But number 2, it says, the Most High allows Israel to fall into bondage. So this is when Jake starts getting, well, the curses start to fall upon Jake. The curses in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, right? And one of the main ones was captivity, right? So keep this in mind, this cycle, because as I go into this lesson, we're going to see how this fits a certain people in today's time. All right. But number 3, it says Israel cries out to the Most High for help. Jake starts to, turn back to the Lord. It says the Most High raises up a judge to rescue his people. Number 5, Israel is delivered from their oppressors. Number 6, peace is restored, and Israel serves the Lord Yahweh again. All right. So this is a cycle, and it repeats. When you read the book of Judges, it continues to repeat over and over and over again, right? And it doesn't change throughout the book, right? Now, even in today's time, a judge is going to be raised, and we understand that judge is Yahweh Shah. He's coming to bring judgment on the heathen and deliver his people, right? And after that, he's going to establish the kingdom of heaven, right? And after that, we're no longer going to sin again. All right. So let me get this precept. Let me go to Judges, actually. Judith, actually. Let me get this first. Judith 5 and verse 13. Hold on, let me start at let me see. Let me start at verse 9. It says, "Then their power commanded them to depart from the place where they sojourned, to go into the land of Canaan, where they dwelt, and were increased with gold and silver, and with very much cattle." It says, "But when a famine covered all the land of Canaan, they went down into Egypt and sojourned there, while they were nourished, and became there a great multitude, so that one could not number their nation." So Jake was went to captivity, right? Not to captivity, but they went into Egypt. When you're reading the book of Genesis, when Joseph went into Egypt, right? This is going into that, and then how a famine hit the land, and we all went down to Egypt, right? But it says, verse 11, therefore the king of Egypt rose up against them and dealt suddenly with them, and brought them low with laboring in brick, and made them slaves. See, so we were turned into slaves. And it's ultimately because we fell away from our power. But verse 12, then they cried unto their power, and he smote all the land of Egypt with incurable plagues, so the Egyptians cast them out of their sight. And the Most High dried the Red Sea before them, right? And he raised up a judge, and that judge was, I guess you could say, it was Moses, right? But verse 14, and brought them to Mount Sinai and Kadesh Barnea, and cast forth all that dwelt in the wilderness. So they dwelt in the land of the Amorites, and they destroyed by their strength all them of Eshban, and passed over Jordan. They possessed all the hill country, and they cast forth before them the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Jebusite, the Sychemite, and the Girgasite, and they dwelt in the country many days. So this is going into the process how we ended up taking the promised land, right? Verse 17, and whilst they sinned not before their power, they prospered, because the power that hated iniquity was with them, right? So while we were with serving the Lord, right, when we were right in our right state of mind, we're pretty much blessed, right? We prospered. We were able to grow, take down these heathen nations, right? But it says, but when they departed from the way which he appointed them, they were destroyed in many battles very sore. So you would have the nations, a certain nation would come in and fight against Israel. Israel will lose and get taken into captivity. It says, and were led captives into a land that was not theirs, and the temple of their power was cast to the ground, and their cities were taken by the enemies. You see, and this happened. And the main one that's currently going on is the one we're living in right now, right? The captivity here in America, and the rest of the countries that Jake is scattered in, right? Because that the Holy Land isn't inhabited by the true Israelites. You have the heathen Esau, Edom. These damn gutter rats over there, pretty much polluting the land and just wreaking havoc, right? Let me see. Verse. Where was I? Okay. Verse 18, it says, but when they departed from the way which he appointed them, they were destroyed in many battles very sore. Okay, I read that. Verse 19, but now they are returned to their power, and are come up from the places where they were scattered, and have possessed Jerusalem, where their sanctuary is, and are seated in the hill country, for it was desolate. Right, so it's just giving you the cycle, right, of Jake falling away from the Lord, getting thrown into captivity, coming back out, prospering in the name of Yahweh Bashim, or in the name of Yahweh back then, right? In the name of the Lord, and then they'll fall away again, get thrown into captivity, and it was just a big cycle, you know what I'm saying? But then coming back, but the point is that now, in this timeline, this is going to be the last time we go off. Our nation as a whole is no more going to suffer captivity, get taken into the hands of, these heathen nations, right? But let me finish this out. Actually, I want to make a point on this next couple of verses. Verse 19. No wait. Verse 20. Now therefore, my Lord and Governor, if there be any error against his people, and they sin against their power, let us consider that this shall be their ruin, and let us go up, and we shall overcome them. See, so these heathen understand that if we were to be in a state of sin, that our power would not be for us, right? That ultimately they will have, we're pretty much what they will call, what's that term? I guess free game, right? We're free game, and that's pretty much what Jake has become unto these nations. We become the prey, ultimately because we fell away from our power. We left that hedge of protection and made ourselves vulnerable to the beasts, to the elements, and to these other nations, right? Because when you read about, when you read it in Psalms the 83rd chapter, all these nations are our enemies. They all conspire to take us down. But why is that? Because we fell away from our power. If we hadn't have fallen away from our power, we would have the power seat, right? We will be on top of the world. You see? None of what happened would have happened. But it happened. But now we're coming back to the point where we're going to be brought back into our homeland, right? And prosper again, right? And that all comes by turning back to the Lord, crying out to Him, or crying out to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, and feel uh well, pretty much, be in a state of damn, I'm losing this word, Shalakia. Uh, pretty much be remorseful for what you've done, right? Salakia. That word's on the tip of my tongue and I couldn't get it out. But let me get this. This is Hosea 6:1. It says, "Come and let us return unto the Lord, for He hath torn and He will heal us. He has smitten and He will bind us up." Right, and a lot of these Christians, they don't, well, really Jake, that's in this Christian mindset, they don't believe that God would do something like this, right? You have a lot of Jake saying, why would God do something like that? Or they'll say, oh, it was Satan, right? Yeah, the Most High does use Satan to, bring evil upon, Jake's. But ultimately, it's all the will of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, right? Ultimately, it was sanctioned by the Lord to bring all this evil, unto you, Jakes. The scriptures call that scourges for amendment, right? This is all means to correct you, but Jake doesn't consider that. That's the problem. That's the reason in Isaiah, was it the first chapter, when he says, the whole head is sick, right, from the foot all the way down. I mean, from the head all the way down to the foot. The whole, pretty much the whole body is sick, right? And he also mentions, as a matter of fact, let me just get it. Isaiah 1. There's a point I wanted to make right here. Isaiah 1. I'll start at 4. It says, "Ah, sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters. They have forsaken the Lord Yahweh. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel into anger. They are gone away backward." Right? They have forsaken the Lord. Cloaked themselves with sin. Right? They have strayed away from the path. Just imagine a forked path. If you go to the right, you continue, going in the direction, to peace, prosperity, safety. But on the left side, Jake thought it was, it looked good. Jake saw the the get rich quick schemes. Jake saw the illusion of wealth, and thought that was the best way to go, the best route. The quickest point from A to B, right? Or A to Z, or however the term goes. But there's no shortcut to the kingdom, man. Right? You got to go to the straight gate. But anyway, let me go back. It says Isaiah 1 and 5. Why should ye be stricken any more? Ye will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick and the whole heart faint. Right? So he's saying, how much more can I do to you? The more I hit you, it seems like the more you kick back, the more you know what I'm saying, rebel, right? So what the Most High is preparing to do is pretty much bring an end to those rebels of our people, 2/3, and just deliver the elect, that remnant. You know what I'm saying? That believe and have faith in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, because through them, that's how the kingdom of heaven is going to be established, right? They're going to be the first citizens of uh, Jerusalem. All right. Now, let me see. I wanted to get this because just going back to the topic of the video, and I don't want to make this too long. I kind of want to close it off here soon. But the topic of the video, like I mentioned, is we're pretty much never gonna suffer that cycle of sin anymore, or go through that cycle as I showed you in this diagram, right? This cycle, well, okay, there it goes. This cycle is never going to happen to us again, right? This is going to be a thing of the past. So this is Jeremiah 31 and 31. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord power, that I will, or the Lord Yahweh, that I will make a covenant or a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. Right? This is the second covenant. Verse 32. Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, as we saw in that diagram, the constant breaking of that covenant. Right? It says, although I was a husband unto them, saith the Lord, but this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord power, or the Lord Yahweh. I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and will be their power, and they shall be my people. So he's going to program us to never go off. The scriptures talk about how the wages of sin is death, right? So in how pretty much how sin gives death power, right? By us sinning, we give death the ability to take us out. We'll be subject unto death. So if we were never to sin, we would never die. But the fact that we're in these corruptible bodies, we sin constantly. Now we do our best, you know what I'm saying? We try to rehearse the righteous acts. We keep the laws to the best of our ability, but we know that we always come short. The scriptures talk about how if a man thinks he has no sin, he deceiveth himself. Right? So there's nobody here on the planet Earth that can keep the laws 100%. One man did, which is Yahweh Shah. And this is the reason why, when his sacrifice was so valuable unto us, him, shedding his blood for us, because he ultimately became that ultimate sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? He fulfilled the law and became the ultimate sacrifice for us. Right? And through him is how we're going to attain the kingdom. Right? But anyway, going back, Jeremiah 31 and 33, I'm going to read it again. It says, but this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my law in the inward parts. Right? Again, we're going to be programmed to never go off. All the laws are going to be within us. Right? It says, and write it in their hearts, and will be their power, and they shall be my people, and they shall teach no more every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, know the Lord Yahweh. For they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith the Lord Yahweh. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember the sin no more. Right. So again, that thing is gonna be a thing of the past. That cycle that I showed you. It's not gonna be, uh, 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 thrown up in our face every now and then. Right. We're gonna be perfect. The Most High is gonna wash us away from all our sins. This whole life that we live now is gonna be just a crazy nightmare. Right. So let me get another one, because this right here, this cycle, it also shows how, well, it shows, this cycle pretty much shows is like a diagram to show you who are the people, who are the true Israelites in these last days, right? Because when you read in the book of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, and it's a lot if I'm all over the place. This kind of came to mind earlier. Deuteronomy 28 and 40, 45, I think. Oh, 40, yeah, 45. Deuteronomy 28 and 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of Yahweh thy power to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. Right? And we read it in the NLT, verse 46. It says, These horrors will serve as a sign and warning among you and your descendants forever. Right? And to our descendants, right? So that just shows you who the people are. Because this cycle has been continually going on. Right? And in these last days, with the truth being out here again, this great awakening that has happened, ultimately, Salakia, lost my train of thought. But pretty much, as I was saying, this serves as a sign, and especially in these last days. Oh yeah, that's my point. Especially now in these last days, now that the Great Awakening has happened, it is very important to know who you are, right? Because there's a lot of people out here, the Christian church and all these different denominations, trying to pretty much speaking against, how we're wrong and all this and that. Speaking against the 12 tribes chart. But explain to me this then. You know what I'm saying? Break down who the real people are. And use precepts. The only people that's really breaking that down are the men, pretty much the men of Great Millstone, right? You have other camps that's breaking it down, right? But ultimately, the true message, the true word is coming out of Great Millstone. All right. So yeah, that was pretty much it. That was pretty much all I had. Salaki for the end part, kind of pausing here and there. I was trying to get my thoughts, collect my thoughts again. But anyway, I pray this lesson was edifying. I'm going to go ahead and close it out by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Racha Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth and rule well. Peace and blessings unto the hopeful elect, pushing his word throughout the four corners of the earth in truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Until the next time, I want to say Shalom, Kwam, and Shalom.